Welcome to The One Thing here at Edge Radio Australia. Look at the bunch of amazing women I have in the building here. I feel...
Blessed.
Okay, that's
Blessed.
not the word I was going to use, but we'll go with that anyway. Look, wonderful to have everybody. Look, you know what? Why don't we just run around the room? Lisa, would you like to do the introduction thing? I didn't even ask you before.
I certainly would.
I thought so. I felt it. I did.
Yeah. Did you feel the glare?
It's a burn on the side of my
I feel
head.
like did we not have an intro today?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, that was it. So we didn't have our intro.
That's coming later. Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
Okay. Well, we're living life on the edge.
We certainly are.
With Aramalloy, you never know what's happening. So I didn't even have time to clear my throat or have another drink. And here we are. Speaking of throats, how are you?
You did open up the beer though.
Yes.
Priorities are important
I did
here.
get time to do that.
Speaking of throats, well, I'm well considering 2 holidays to Bali and a little bit too much.
Alcohol poisoning.
Well, it was my immune system went on holiday and it still hasn't come back yet.
Yeah. So for anyone that tuned in last week, Leanne was on remotely. So that's a wonderful thing about the world we live in. We can do things very differently.
We can.
But let's talk about our guest today. We've got Sophia Moermond. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Amazing.
Oh, that was amazing.
Moermond.
Moermond. And I even did a little shoulder.
Did you do the Moermond?
This is the second time. See, I told you I needed to clear my throat. This is the second time. Yeah, more beer, definitely. Second time that I get to introduce Sophia, because we were actually at a lunch on Sunday and I heard Sophia speak, which was fantastic. So I've already had a little warm up, but let me go again for our viewers all over the world today. So Sophia Moermond is an ex-MP from the upper house in the Western Australian state government. Her background is in health, having gained qualifications as a nurse, naturopath and traditional Chinese medicine.
Enough beer.
It's a boutique industry, very small.
Medicine practitioner. Her passion and focus has always been in trying to make the world a better place. So that's obviously why we all resonated together. Yeah. This is obvious in what she has advocated for in Parliament and her work whilst in clinical practice. Our health is intricately.
Oh my goodness, you wrote it.
Yeah.
I just printed it.
Our health.
Beer.
All it takes.
Lightweight.
Oh, look, I'm just giddy on life.
What a cheap date she is. All right, there we go.
Oh, so many comments. Mm-hmm. Our health is intricately connected to the environment, and Sophia is concerned about current farming practices, weather modification, vaccinations and mandates, fluoridated water and gender ideology, all of which are such serious topics. And I don't really felt like I feel like
my goodness. This is going south. We are so sorry.
Oh, well, I'm not. This is the one thing here on Edge, and this is how we are. This is who we are. It's very real. It's very real.
We don't care.
Oh, no. But I like, let's face
care.
it, we're not polished, okay? If you're looking for polish, this is not the place to start.
Where would they go if they weren't polished?
Oh, look, I had a career once where I was polished. That is well over. I'm not going to go with a joke I was going to use. Let's move on. It's an absolute pleasure to have you.
It really is.
You are
wonderful.
a wonderful human being, full stop. And the things that you've done over the last few years for West Australians and actually standing up for, those of us who actually care about the future of this state, I thank you. So, you don't fit the mould as a traditional politician.
No, I noticed that.
Yeah, I have noticed that very much. I'm sure you did when you got in there. But are you still honourable?
Even more so, she's got out of politics.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't have a lot of scandals going on, so I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to keep my title.
Right.
So you need to be in there for 10 years and then you're allowed to keep it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
How many years were you in total for?
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's impressive, even 4 years.
Yeah, to me. To maintain that.
Yeah.
Come out relatively sane.
That's fabulous. So what is it like as a woman in politics?
Okay, it's hard, right? So there's the normal level games that people play with each other, and then you do deal with sexism on top of that as well. So it's hard to get your voice heard. The West Australian mainstream media has ignored me almost entirely. They have done very little for me. As a result of that, I've made a lot more connections with alternative media, including with Edge, but also Max Freedom as well,
great
and
people and
Scorpion
great
Media,
organisations.
and Courage is the Cure. I feel that the mainstream media is doing such a poor job of reporting the news that I have also made a conscious decision to support the alternative media, or independent media as much as possible.
That is wonderful.
And we
news.
appreciate that. It's such a big thing
Absolutely.
because, and also, well, quite frankly, people are voting with their feet and their eyes and their money, which is a great thing to see. It's a stat that came out quite some time ago now, but so it's probably even better now from our point of view. But so only 20% of the population get their news now from the mainstream media.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that stat's over a year old, so it's probably more, in our favour these days.
Because it's the same stories every time.
Recycled.
And it's
Every channel.
everything all the time.
Yep.
And people's reality is not matching up with what they're being served.
That's right.
Looking at, in particular at, vaccine injury, pretty much anyone that I'm talking to has a relative or themselves or a friend who's experienced an adverse event, and that ranges from, say, chronic fatigue, coming back to cardio issues, cancer, turbo cancers in particular.
Yeah.
And people aren't dumb.
No.
Well, they're not.
Some are.
Well, there are a lot of people out there that are getting
Yeah.
sick that don't even relate. the two.
Unfortunately, those that are actually in there are being fed it so often that it's brainwashed into their brain. And it's wrong.
Yeah, I was dealing with some trolls on X, as one does.
It's always fun.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of, in that sense, it's kind of nice that I'm not an MP anymore, because I don't have to mind my P's and Q's quite so much. So I've engaged a bit more. And this man specifically wanted to know how many people were involved in the conspiracy with COVID vaccinations and them causing harm, because he's talking about the World Health Organization, all of these organizations, and he wanted a specific number from me. I explained to him that, one, that's not available, and two, it's because of people like him who just ridicule anything that doesn't fit the World Health Organization
narrative.
That's right. Yeah. We only need people like him to keep on questioning, to keep on following the narrative, believing the narrative, and calling anyone who doesn't agree with them a cooker or a nutter or whatever else. Yeah, and it's easily achieved, conspiracy, to pull a conspiracy off.
Yeah.
They've got people on board. Well,
Well, to your point. I mean, the thing, and I will say this till the cows come home. Obviously, look, media is a passion of mine.
Yeah.
But from the point of view of this, is that it is not a service. People think the media is a service. It is a business. Yeah. They are there to make money. They are also there to sell narrative of whoever will pay the most. Right. Yeah. And okay, you can't dance around the fact that for 2 years, the media in Australia, if you signed on, okay, and we certainly didn't, but if you signed on to run the COVID propaganda, you actually did not pay tax for 2 years.
Wow, I didn't know that.
You bought the media.
You heard us on Edge Radio, Leanne.
Boom.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, so if you run a big network, say you're Kerry Stokes, and you want to, he runs pretty much everything. He owns Western Australia when it comes to media.
Yeah.
If he's got particular deals he wants to get done, we'll manipulate
bribe,
the news,
isn't it?
Look, it is a bribe, and
it is a bribe.
And from a financial,
it's terrible, Miriam.
It really is. It really is.
That needs a royal commission.
Oh, we need a royal commission, no question about it.
Yeah.
And also we need, and a Senate inquiry won't cut it. No offence to the Senate.
No, they can set their own terms of reference, as far as I know. Whereas the Royal Commission is free to set their own terms of reference, free from government influence in that. But I thought Senate inquiries and committee inquiries that we have here in a state government, that's where the government can set the terms of reference, which is what happened when we had the COVID inquiry here, and they very specifically just looked at what did we do well, not like what we should have done differently.
Of course they did.
We did pop-up clinics really well. We got,
Oh,
lots
wow.
of, yeah. So it looked like they did this amazing job, but the terms of reference were so limited that it wasn't really a true assessment of what the government had done and if they'd done it well and how it was perceived by the people.
What I really liked what you shared with me that came from the other perspective, and I thought that was good, because sometimes it's so easy to have such strong beliefs, us included, that we don't actually see it from the other side. And what you were sharing with me is that we really needed to be careful, because at that time when we were going through the mandates, some of the people with opposing views were actually quite frightened because they thought we were coming from a Nazi perspective. They misunderstood the message we were trying to put across.
How?
Yeah. Look, I agree with you there, but basically what happened here, and this was discussed in the chamber, that there were people with Nazi signs who were, as part of the freedom movement, to indicate that they did not like what Mark McGowan was doing and that he was being a Nazi, but it was perceived in there that people were associating with Nazis or were Nazis, and that's why I had that, had that symbol up, and hence we now have laws around that sort of symbolism as well.
It's the world's most evil symbol, a full stop, right? That is, I mean, there's no more quintessential symbol of hate than that symbol. It really upsets me. I don't even like the look of it, right?
Yeah.
But on that, as far as what you were just saying, I find that interesting. I did several interviews, through all the time, and one of them was with the West Australian newspaper, which I often call the kitty litter times, because that's all it's good. Line the tray, that's all it's good for. Now, I find this interesting, though. I did many interviews with them, and they did interviews, they did stories and didn't actually talk to me, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, the West Australian media compared to the Eastern States media were very, very, very different. And funny enough, a reporter who worked for the West Australian but was based in the ACT asked me the question about the Nazi movement and that. And I said, I told the truth. And I actually give her credit on this one, because she actually reported what I said.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Which blows my mind.
Good.
And the fact that there was actually only 2 people. So out of those massive crowds of 50, 60 odd thousand people, there were 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know what? There's
They've
bad eggs.
got to pick up on those
of course
things,
they do, because they create a story out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's sensationalism.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So we have to be very aware of that, and I do appreciate you'd have a very unique perspective on this. You're seeing it from a different picture.
Yeah. I saw from the other side and what went on there. And I'd like to just talk about an experience that I had last year. So I've been invited to go to Berlin to talk about global drug reform, and this was at the same time that the World Health Organization Global Health Summit was there, and because I was connected with this one particular group called Unite, I was invited along to the World Health Organization Global Summit as well. So which was interesting.
I bet.
And those Berliners, by the way, go them, they were out the front protesting against mandates, and they had like a forest of the fallen. They had posters up of people who'd been vaccine damaged, and security was incredibly tight.
Okay.
But I learned several things there, and I think we need to keep that in mind as well. So one of them was that we will have another pandemic.
Of course we will.
We've Australia's just signed up for that, and we're even funding that as well. So that's nuts. But anyway,
so that for every 4 pandemics, we get a free coffee. So we need to get as many of these going as possible.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. The second thing I learned there, that the only way that we're going to deal with any pandemics is with mRNA vaccines. And the third thing, and this is the most important bit, I feel, is that there were a large amount of people there who all believed totally that they were doing the right thing by humanity.
Agreed. I understand that.
And we are the same. We also think we are doing the right thing by humanity. So,
that's a good point.
just dismissing those people is not necessarily useful. We have to find ways that we can communicate with that cohort as well and get our message across, and not just, like they call us cookers and whatever, and we have also unkind nicknames for those people. But we really need to see if we can have conversations that where the barriers don't come up.
Here's a question for you. So you referred to the freedom movement, which is one term. We call our community Worldwide Awake Business Network because that's how people tended to refer to themselves during those times.
Yeah.
Is referring to ourselves as being awake, is that disrespectful to people that are conforming and believing that they're doing the right thing?
Yeah, look, possibly. Yeah, that's a really good question.
I always felt that
Yeah.
to some degree,
Yeah.
a little bit.
It's
But then it could also be the awakening. If we, if the words are changed, it's about awakening to the fact that this is going on in the world and coming out of those shadows to go, hang on a minute, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
And I'm not alone, maybe, I don't know.
So you're saying it in the more gentle way rather than wake up.
Yeah. Well,
there are many roads to Rome, right?
Yes.
And we all have a way
How many roads are there?
presenting the message that we have.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need people who are a little bit softer, right? And sometimes you need people who are a little bit more blunt and direct.
yeah.
But yeah, if you go in hard all the time, and this was one of the things that I had to deal with in being in Parliament.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
If I was going to go in really hard, I would have lost a lot of people there. And initially, because I was with Legalized Cannabis Party, one of the reasons that I wanted to see, or one of the ways that you can get legislative change is through science and data, right?
Sure.
And you can say, look, it will be better for our police force and for people if we could just have a few plants in the backyard for a lot of people and maybe some cannabis clubs, because it would take a lot of pressure off. So I had to navigate that, because if I went too far, as an anti-vaxxer or a cooker, I would lose the little credibility that I had in there already.
There's nuance to this, right?
Yeah.
And I think something that I want to, something I'm trying to achieve, and I don't know if I'll do this in my lifetime or whatever, but I'm trying very hard to push. It's not us versus them on both sides, right? And that's something it's just not. End of the day, people want to wake up every day, live good lives, provide for your family, raise beautiful kids, just and have peace and love in our lives, right? Okay, it's really that simple. Yep. Some people want more toys than others. Some people want this, some people want that. Yep. But ultimately, we're all fundamentally very, very similar.
Yeah.
We're going to be different on politics. I get that. And I love difference, because otherwise, if we're all the same, my word,
it'd be boring.
So boring.
Yeah.
But we have to, in my opinion, it cannot be us versus them on either side.
No.
Yeah.
And a big thing that I'm proud that we do here is I want to talk and we have conversations with people who disagree with us. It's so important. You do not grow unless you disagree.
We need to have more guests on that disagree with us, don't we?
We try very hard, and I had this conversation. Funny
We
enough,
can bring some for you, Erin. That's okay.
bring that up. Let's start that feminism question. Let's go with that, right?
Actually,
Speaking of that,
That beauty.
We had a few.
Oh no,
We had a few
I'm
lined up.
completely outnumbered here. Hello. Yeah, but, on that front, what Leanne's just said though, this is worthy of a note. Geez, it's hard to get people on the left side of politics to actually talk about these things. It really is tough.
So all their talk about inclusivity only to people that they agree with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have lost that ability to debate and have meaningful discussions. Look, I'm incredibly opinionated, by the way, just so you know.
I never noticed.
No,
subtle.
but I am not rigid in my thinking.
Okay.
If you come at me,
Yep.
right, and you don't agree with me, that's fine. And you have the evidence there and you can explain your case to me, I will change my mind just like that. No problem.
So can you think of an example where that's happened?
Keep the sheep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a really good example of that.
Okay.
I was against the live sheep trade. There was a lot of cruelty there. Yeah. And then what the government has done and what the farmers have done, we now have sheep that go on those ships and they gain weight on the way there. They have vets on there 24 hours looking after those sheep. They're air conditioned, they're well cared for, right?
It's a better solution because you've worked together.
Yeah, exactly. In the end, though, what I would like to see is a boxed meat industry. Now, I don't know how long that's going to take, maybe 10, 20 years to get that off the ground. Unfortunately, because of the activism in Canberra, I suspect that we're going to lose a lot of our sheep farmers.
We will.
And
that's going to cause a lot of death amongst farmers as well.
Yeah, it's going to,
impact everything.
Taking their own lives, Leanne.
Yeah, drain our rural communities, population. Is going to drive up the cost of living here because we have one less protein source. We'll have to get that in from overseas, import more stuff, and that is already a big issue for Western Australia.
We've already lost so many markets.
Can you just take it back a step for anybody that's watching that doesn't know about this? Just explain what it is you mean. What is happening over east?
Okay, so the reason why the live sheep trade was being banned was because the Labor government, federal level government, was influenced by the Greens and animal justice. So the activism there, which is about 4,000 kilometres away, by the way, all right, which is something like from, I don't know, Stockholm down to Cape Town. So it's a long distance away, not quite that much, but
it's a long way.
These people don't know what's going on in Western Australia. It's such a big state, and we have very few industries here. So we've got mining. And then we've got agriculture. So we've got wheat and sheep and cows as well, cattle. Right. So for people that far away to attack one of the industries that is providing employment, is providing is keeping our rural communities alive, when they don't know what they're talking about. And like I said, we need to move towards a boxed meat.
Has that ever stopped a Greens supporter or a Greens politician not knowing what they're talking about?
Yeah, I know, right?
When the Greens, and I keep saying, and I'll say it until the cows come home, or the sheep.
Yeah.
Okay. What is it? What is a Greens politician? Okay, they are the watermelon party. They are green on the outside, they're red on the inside. Yeah. They are communists, and sometimes, the more moderate ones are just full-on socialists.
Yeah.
Right? Stop lying. The fact of the matter is they are not about the environment. They are about control. I even have a little bit of a theory that they actually may have been conceived as a different arm for the Labor Party, quite frankly, back in the day at conception level.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm right, but there's certainly a lot of signs that would suggest that.
Yeah, when Bob Brown was in charge, I felt it was still very much about the environment. I agree with you on that front, and he's doing a lot of work in Tasmania still. But then they've moved away from looking after the environment to taking on all sorts of social justice warrior issues. In particular, they're looking a lot at homelessness, which is a good thing to look at. There's nothing wrong with that. But then also very much gender ideology is one of their things as well.
Yeah.
And, what's really interesting about gender ideology, when you're looking at the amount of hormones that those people take, in particular men on estrogen, now estrogen doesn't break down. Yeah, it stays in the urine. It goes out through our sewage into our oceans. Yeah. And what we are seeing is insufficient male fish to keep the environment going. So we're having more female fish in the corals because of the feminizing effect of estrogen. So it is, and when you look at coral reefs and that is the beginning of our food chain.
Men, stop drinking soy products.
Yeah.
These are things that drop testosterone, and exactly what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. They change your mix. Okay.
Yeah. But not only that, when you're taking things like this estrogen and all those other products, particularly in places like Europe, they recycle their water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So those women and men that aren't taking any estrogen supplements are actually being boosted up as well. So can you imagine the men over in areas where our water is recycled, they're all going to be high in estrogen.
Yeah, and then you get more cancers and gynecomastia, which is breast development in men.
In men.
I just want to remind our
healthy.
listeners that Sophia has a background as a nurse and a naturopath, so she's speaking and Chinese medicine.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I do know a little bit about what I'm talking
Yes.
about.
Yeah, always a good start.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Look, there's so much to this. I mean, as far as the gender ideology, I've got some really big personal issues on that one as far as it really upsets me and it hurts people I love, right? So directly I'm affected by it. But I also see the damage it's just doing to greater society. I mean, it's a real problem. We talk about the testosterone in males is now down. Literally, it's. I don't remember. I used to know, and it's fallen out of my head. But the stats are actually showing testosterone in men is now a quarter what it was.
Wow.
Hang on, only a decade ago.
Wow.
Okay.
Sperm production.
Yeah. Your swimmers better be pretty bloody strong these days.
Yeah.
It's
Is this in all countries, Sophia?
Western countries.
More Western countries.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure exactly why that is, but when you're looking at third world countries, it's different.
We're all
Those
moving to
people are
Bali.
very busy.
Yeah.
They're not sitting there navel gazing, deciding what gender they want to be.
That's
They're
right.
trying to just survive for the day. So there's a component of
I feel sorry for people because I think, and I was talking to my son about this earlier, is I think a basic human need is everybody wants to belong. We want to feel like we belong somewhere.
Yeah.
And to go to those lengths, you must really feel sad and disconnected and you don't belong and that this is the answer.
Yeah.
And it's not, in most cases, it's not the answer.
No, it's not. And on a planet with 8 billion people, we all want to be special as well.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, look, I'm sorry, as a part of that population, none of us are particularly unique anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I understand that when you went to school and you got your participation awards or whatever, that, the parents telling you how special you were.
Are you trying to trigger me?
Yeah.
That won't be hard.
Yeah.
Where's those water pistols?
Sorry.
I mean, okay, in sport, for argument's sake, when I was younger, okay, I wanted to be better at sport. Guess what I did? I worked bloody harder.
Yeah.
Okay, I practiced. I did whatever,
Work ethic.
Work ethic,
Yeah.
exactly right. No one gave me an award for being there. Okay, a participation. It makes me so angry. It teaches kids how to fail. It says mediocrity is okay. And, I'm sorry.
And if kids can't run, that's fine. They're good at something else.
Exactly. Find
You know?
what the child is good at.
Yeah.
Look at this. Do you reckon this is a runner?
Well,
No.
maybe in the day. Maybe back in the day, Aaron.
No, other sports suited this body a bit better, and it was better.
If you're in a hurry, drive.
That's right. I mean, that's why I'm a car man.
How are we going for time? Do we need to take a
got
break?
a
Well, I was
couple
going to say,
questions.
I will throw a quick little break.
Because I want to make sure that we cover
Hi,
everything we
Martine.
said
I
we
I'm
see
very
would.
glad you said that.
Hi, Sharon.
Let's have a break, and also
Hey,
when we
Ray
come
and
back,
Joshua, I heard you
there's so
call your
many
mum.
awesome people coming through. And remember, we can't see all the feeds, so it'd be great if we could. But we've got a few there. Let's have a quick little break, and when we come back, we'll go through
Hey,
those
Navy
questions. What do you think? Yeah,
Yeah,
does that sound
sounds
like a
good.
plan?
Yeah.
Sounds
Let's
like a
let's
plan.
do
Ever
that.
felt lost online finding the right businesses?
Absolutely, like a needle in a haystack.
Introducing the Worldwide Awake Business Directory.
Tell me more.
It's your hub for businesses sharing your values. Discover eco-friendly products, socially responsible services, and more.
Count me in. I'll check it out straight away.
Find businesses aligned with your values on the Worldwide Awake Business Directory. Start making a difference with every purchase.
Is pain holding you back? Bowen Therapy with Panacea Healing can change that for you. It's never too late to recharge your health, career, or purpose. You have the power within yourself to change what no longer serves you, taking your life and health to another level. panaceahealing.com.au. You can do anything.
Is that right, Leanne? Can you do anything?
Yes, if you really want to, Aaron.
See, now I do feel special. Can I have a participation award for that?
No.
No. Quick little shout out to Eddie in the background doing a wonderful job, pressing buttons and making stuff happen. You're an absolute angel. Thank you for that. why don't we jump into some of these comments, and there's quite a lot, so we'll just have a bit of a
Fabulous.
let's have a look. Okay, let's jump into this from Michelle. Bring it up on the screen so we can see it. It's always good. Would you like to read this one, Leanne?
Sure. From Rochelle. Thank you, Rochelle. Do you believe current political leaders are ignoring legitimate concerns about vaccine side effects? If so, as citizens, what can we do or demand action for change?
Oh, I absolutely believe that political leaders are ignoring legitimate concerns. It's very easy to dismiss people with terms like cooker or whatever.
Yep.
What can we do? We need to keep communicating with those who are in power. Yeah. And we need to make sure that we present research to them that is really clear, simple, like what was done in Port Hedland, right?
Yeah,
we didn't even go so much into that this could cause turbo cancers or whatever. It was just like, we've got these vaccines, they've got an incredible amount of random DNA in there, and that is concerning. So,
Sorry to interrupt you, but
Johnny's
you
on.
also said the other day that you
Johnny
would advise people, Leanne, this is a good one for you and I, to go onto boards.
yes, that's right.
Mm.
So
To have a voice.
Good one.
you know, the ideological capture of boards, whether that is in sports or schools,
Schools,
businesses,
all everywhere.
whatever,
Yeah.
right? There's the push there to have, I guess, more left-leaning people in those positions has been going on for quite a while. So we, as a public, we can try and get back some of that ground that we've lost.
That's a great
run
question.
run for council in your local area. That is one way that you could help. If you have kids that are going to school, right, get on that board.
Yeah.
Be part of that.
Have a say.
Yeah,
Have a
so
say.
that you can could show to those people that no, kids should not be vaccinated at
Yes.
a young age.
Now,
right?
just saying about
Yeah.
vaccination, Johnny's on here at the moment, and Johnny's my old boss, one of my old bosses. There's two brothers.
Oh, poor Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny, we're sorry.
I love Johnny. Johnny, you would love Johnny too because he likes to drive fast.
Good man.
Right? He says politicians are too scared to say they are wrong in what they pushed.
They don't want to be liable.
No,
And Johnny's
that's right.
also one of those ones that drives the trucks through Perth City with all these banners
Good
and everything on
man.
it. Johnny.
Good
Oh,
man.
well done, Johnny.
So, and in saying about vaccinations, it's actually someone Johnny and I both know as a teenager had the vaccination that was, for cervical cancer.
Right.
What's that one called?
Gardasil.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one. And she had an adverse reaction to that.
Right. Yeah.
And, missed out on a lot of schooling because of that.
Yeah.
So it's something we don't need to actually have in schools. So if you are on schools and you do go on the boards, I think that's really, really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even just beyond boards, contact, send letters and emails. Get as many people you can to contact the education department. Our education department in Western Australia is corrupt to the core, and what they are doing to children is evil. It is dead set evil. They need to know. They need to know that parents care. And I love what goes on in America at the moment. I love seeing those parents at school boards and standing up for their kids, because this is where they're getting them. This is where they're getting them, right?
Yeah.
So let's just jump to a question from the lovely Martine. Let's go.
Just one more thing in regards to that. Doing petitions can be a really good way, and this has to be done through the government website, right?
Yep.
Not change.org. That's not going to have the same level of influence. But,
Correct.
what do you want? Do you want an inquiry into something? Do you want something researched? Do you want to change something? You have to be very specific in your
You do.
language. Put it in, get an MP to table it in Parliament for you, and you will have 5 MPs on a committee that will look at exactly what you've written. They will ask for further supporting evidence. They will get letters out to ministers, and the ministers have to respond 2D's letters. Like they can ignore our letters easily enough as people of the public, but when they come from the committee, they have to respond. So that is another way that you can leverage,
Isn't it?
and make the government work for you versus the other way
Do you
around.
still have contacts or any friends from your time in Parliament?
I wasn't that popular.
Do you have any friends at all?
No.
We're all
I do
friends
have,
here. Come on.
Yeah, I do have friends. Yeah. In there. So
Good to hear.
Do you felt you were listened to, or that you piqued any curiosity with people that never would have thought that?
Yes.
One.
So, some did come up and say that they agreed with me, but it was off the record and it wasn't in the chamber. So yeah.
Interesting. We've got a question up here from Martine. This week in USA, court found flu vax causes. What is that?
Guillain-Barré syndrome.
Yeah, Guillain-Barré is a syndrome where you become paralyzed from the toes up all the way up, and you end up in an iron lung for a while. So when I was
is anybody else wiggling their toes right now? I am.
When I was a student nurse, and I was on the neurology ward, and we had 3 people come in. I think it was Guillain-Barré, and it was such an unusual condition. And it starts with tingling in your toes. I've never had my toes tingle quite so much. Didn't have it. But I was a hypochondriac at quite an advanced level there.
Normally, if my toes are tingling, things are good. Okay,
Never heard of that.
And when I was in clinical practice, I saw several people who ended up with chronic fatigue syndrome from the flu vax. Now, I wasn't allowed to diagnose that. They came to me with a diagnosis from the immunologists at Sir Charles Gardner. Yeah, so it's. It can overwhelm the immune system, and then you end up with immune disorders, and we're seeing that everywhere at the moment.
Autoimmune disorders.
Let's bring up another question from May. Okay. This is from Rochelle as well. Thank you, Rochelle. There have been so many great questions, and I can't wait. Actually, during the week, we'll go back through the other feeds and look at the other questions.
Okay.
It's going to be fascinating. I think there's so many different opinions. Where do you think the line should be drawn between individual health responsibility and government mandates when it comes to vaccines and health policy?
Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? Because you need to look at health policies and then also people's bodily autonomy and their right to choose. I don't think it's right to ever mandate a medical treatment. But, you're also looking at things like when people smoke and then they end up needing to go into hospital to deal with that, on Medicare pays for that. At what level do you put that personal responsibility that if you choose to smoke, should everybody else then pay for your care or not? Look, that's an ethical, massive ethical dilemma right there. One of the things where I believe our governments can really help is by getting rid of the crap out of our supermarkets.
Yes.
Right. So I think it was in Finland that they decided to add vitamin D to the food, right? And so you are getting vitamin D whether you want it or not.
Okay.
So one of the things they noticed was a massive decrease in type 2 diabetes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Vitamin D is from the sun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And Finland's got long winters.
So people get SADS, don't they?
That's right.
Yeah. Which stands for
seasonal affective disorder, which is a type of depression. Yeah. So looking at adding the vitamin D had great outcomes. What we're dealing here in Western Australia with more is the addition of fluoride, for instance. Now, fluoride is a toxic product a byproduct from the aluminium industry.
Yes.
And it's a neurotoxin.
Crazy.
Yeah. And that data is coming out. So people are installing very expensive filters to try and take the fluoride out of the water. The data around fluoride is becoming more and more obvious that it is not good for us. The government should not be adding that to it, and it is for me, it's an unwanted medical invention that intervention, that I'm not getting a choice in. I don't want it. I really
it's
don't.
Interesting you say that.
So it's a balance, and you're looking at the data, and I read one book on fluoride where, they had this toxic byproduct at the end of it. What can we do with it? Oh, let's add it to the water because it's good for bones. And you do need some fluoride, by the way. Yeah, but not in the amounts that we are getting.
Right.
You can see this in...
You'll get enough through plant.
Yeah, that's right.
We've got Martine up again. I just wanted to give Martine a shout out because you're here basically because Martine introduced you to Edge Radio.
Great point.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
Thank you, Martine.
Yeah,
You're
thank
awesome.
you. Yeah, thank you,
You've got
Martine.
a lot to answer for.
Yeah,
like
you
Martine.
are awesome. So Martine says, with this finding, good opportunity to advise all pharmacies and doctors of this, perhaps cease and desist orders.
Ooh.
Yeah, look, this is one of those areas they were speaking about earlier that you have to need the right language for the right people.
Yeah.
And pharmacists are very much pro-vax. Most of them are pro-vax, right? And they're the ones that are doing the COVID shots and the flu shots together. If you go in hard there, they will dismiss you as a cooker.
Yeah.
What we could be doing possibly is working with the pharmacy guild, going in there, send through the research, see if you can get an appointment with the whoever is in the CEO or top position, and start presenting that research. But I've done some doctor detailing. I don't know if you know what that means.
No.
You go into a doctor's surgery, you buy them some lunch and they give you their lunchtime and you show the research that supports the product from the company that you're working for.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you buy them for lunch?
We were on a strict budget by that stage already, so it wasn't whatever they wanted. It was like local Chinese or pizza or
There
something
you go.
like that.
I didn't even know that existed.
No,
Yeah.
well, that would be really cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Let's go and invite a doctor to lunch.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, that's the only
A
way they'll
single
see
awake
you.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're always working another angle. Look at that. Oh, no.
But it wasn't. Yeah, I missed out on the time it was champagne and lobsters.
Oh,
Right? That was
jeez.
before me, unfortunately.
Do you still have access to the parliamentary dining room?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
Excellent.
But on non-sitting days.
Oh,
Yeah.
So do you get to invite friends?
So when are they ever sitting? So that's fine. That's 300 days a year.
Do you get to
We could
invite
do
friends?
Edge Radio Australia from
Yeah, no, 60 days a year they sit.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Can you invite friends?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
How many?
As many as I want.
Oh, really? So the
But-
three of us
yeah.
will all go in there with
I
their
pay
heads
for
from
that though, just so you
Oh,
know.
no, no,
It's free,
really?
right? Yeah, yeah, it's all free.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
take that
It's
back.
good quality food at a
okay.
good price, but it's not free.
But we
Anyway,
could still
we can
stream
work
from
on
there.
that.
We digress.
I don't think they'd let
But the
us up.
point I was trying to make was, right, you go in with your research.
Yeah.
You have to know that you've got a good quality research paper there
Mhm.
because those doctors, all they want to do to you is try and trip you up, right?
Mhm.
So they'll have questions like, oh, the sample group wasn't big enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't do this for enough time. Was it,
There's no
double
LDL,
blind,
50.
placebo controlled?
Okay.
So if you have good quality papers, that's how you convince those people that, the DNA contamination is problematic or that immune systems become dysregulated because of vaccinations and inflammatory response is causing issues for people after vaccination as well. You need good data. You need to know the language, because otherwise they'll just dismiss
Walk
you.
away.
You're so right. The language has got a lot to it.
Tell us about weather modification. Is that a thing?
It is a thing. Oh, definitely, yes.
Okay.
We can see it here in Perth. I did ask the question in Parliament, do we do that here in Western Australia? Of course we don't, apparently.
Okay.
Weird thing is that I get a headache every time when there's these weird straight clouds in the sky. And
A grid pattern through clouds is perfectly natural. You're a cooker.
yeah,
Like, come on.
obviously.
That's, I've seen it all the time.
Yeah. Funny that, exactly, yeah. And I'm imagining those headaches.
You are.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I've been doing my own little clinical trial or collecting anecdotal evidence and asking my friends how they feel when this happens. And I've got quite a few, and it's mainly women versus men who experience headaches when there are a lot of stripes in the sky. Now, one of the things, and this is going to be controversial, what I'm going to say next, and I feel this is the right place for it. Yeah. One of the things that people keep on telling me about weather modification and cloud seeding is why are there droughts in our country here? Why are there droughts? Because the farmers aren't getting enough water. The southwest is drying out water. That is because it wasn't invented to fix drought. It was invented, in my opinion, as a weapon of war to take water away from other countries via the sky. So that if you can access other people's water, other countries' water by affecting the climate, right, you disrupt that whole economy. They cannot grow food. Yeah, they need all sorts of need to possibly transport water in. There's a whole bunch of issues associated with that. Water is currently the most valuable thing on the planet.
Of course,
clean water is.
But who would be doing it? I don't understand.
I'll tell you, because I actually know the answer on this one. I believe I do. Okay, so the CEO of Nestle, they make the chocolate bars. Okay, about roughly a decade ago, came forward and with his belief that water was not a human right. Okay, it was a resource that should be owned, and they actually wanted to privatize water. Nestle wanted to own the rights to water, so they could sell it, and you couldn't just go and get it, and you can't get rainwater, all that sort of thing.
Is this why we have Coca-Cola water in a bottle?
Pretty much. Yeah. Now, hang on. Guess what his new job is? Guess where he is now? He is the boss of the World Economic Forum.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay. That's an interesting link.
It's a theory. Yeah. There we go. Lots of great comments coming through as well. Just really,
I know what I said will cement myself as a nutter in
No,
history.
you know what? Nut away. Do at least you're on the side of, you're on the side of truth. But even if, say, for argument's sake, you're wrong, right? Yeah. And I don't think you are, but I'm going to go with that. You've brought forward a theory, okay, and it's something we discuss, and the more minds we put our ideas together, the better we can actually come up with a proper resolution and answer, right? So it's a positive thing. Now Martine's actually put that she thinks a court ruling is a very strong outcome and persuasion, and I agree with that. I'm a big believer in that as well. We've got a comment here. If I can just bring that one up, if it just wants to play the game, there we go. All right, now this one is from 𝐾𝐸𝐲 𝐬, the wonderful Robin.
We haven't had rain here at home.
Sorry, did you want to grab that, Leanne?
Sure. So Robin from 𝐾𝐸𝐲 says, we haven't had rain here at home. We've had to get the truck in. We are not on the mains, and I can't read the rest of it.
Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to clear that screen. Yeah. Okay, should come up in a moment. It's just not playing the game. Okay. Computer says no.
It's very late for the year with no rain. Something like that. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, the important. There we go.
We have to get the truck in, and we are not on the mains. Very late for the year with no rain.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a song in that.
It's concerning.
It sounds like a country song.
It does. Okay. Yes. Look, I've and interesting. We were talking before about fluoride. Okay, I've grown up most of my life on properties, so water tanks. Okay, so rainwater, sometimes a bit of bore. I don't have a single filling in my head, right? And the whole theory about
how did you survive without all that fluoride?
Oh, I don't know. Yes, exactly. And my mind still works. It's great. But it's interesting because that fluoride is supposed to be all about looking after your teeth. And you did make a point. There's an element of that.
Yeah.
But okay, I've had basically no fluoride in my water for essentially my life.
Yeah.
And no fillings. No fillings.
But I have another theory of that. I don't think the school dentists were that forthcoming either. I think they just pulled you out of school, gave you a couple of, amalgam fillings because they paid for their lunch for the week or whatever it was. Because seriously, I don't think my amalgam fillings that I've got in my mouth, I don't think half of them were needed.
Yeah,
I think that was just
I think you're right there. Yeah, I remember getting filling at quite a young age,
and I'm thinking, no, it's ridiculous.
Shouldn't have had it. And now, now you have to replace them all with ceramics.
Yes,
that's a little bit weird that you'd want to go and put a filling in and then go and have lunch.
No, to pay for their lunch. I
I
said.
know, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe
But
they
that's
wanted
what-
steak for lunch.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, perhaps it's sandwich filling. I don't
Yeah,
know.
possibly,
could
possibly.
be. Could be.
Yeah.
We have gone over time, which is a real shame because I really wanted to go into the issue of sexism in the government, of course. But that's another day.
Oh, we've
That's
got
another
lots
day.
of ones
We
for
have,
you.
we have. And you know what? Like myself, who's often talking about the gender politics and whatever. I'm on your side on this one a little bit. I think that there is a lot of bullying.
Can
I
we
think there's
just-
a lot of gameplay.
Can we ask Sophia what's next for her, please?
We certainly can.
Say it again.
What's next? Are
What's
you coming
next?
back?
Oh.
What have you learned this
What have I
time?
learned?
And are you
Not
going
to
to
come
make
back.
I've learned a lot. I don't know yet what I'm going to do next.
Mhm.
I like advocacy. I think I found my voice there. I seem to have no issue with being controversial about stuff and speaking my truth. So that would definitely be part of it.
Mhm.
Possibly lobbying, possibly teaching people how to interact with governments, and keep on fighting against mandates and fluoridated water and weather modification.
Yeah.
Hey, look, have a word with Mark McGowan. He can get you a nice gig at Rio Tinto as a
Yeah, I
consultant.
didn't
You'll
get
be
that.
fine.
Weird,
Yeah.
hey?
I wonder why. All right,
Yeah.
we have hit the end of the show. Why don't we close it out? Leanne, what are your thoughts there?
Gee whiz, caught off guard there.
Gee whiz.
Gee whiz.
Gee whiz. I would just want to say thank you. I've learnt a lot today, and I hope our viewers have as well. And tune in next week to The One Thing, where we have another wonderful guest. And thank you so much for coming on, Sophia Moermond.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Babe.
for
And
watching,
yeah.
everybody.
Thank you for everyone tuning in.